Have you noticed it's getting harder to carry your groceries? Or maybe you're avoiding picking up your grandkids because you're just not as strong as you used to be. Here's something that might shock you. After age 60, you're losing up to 3% of your muscle mass every single year, and most people have no idea it's even happening until they can't get up from a chair without using their arms, or worse, they take a fall that changes everything. But here's what really gets me frustrated. 98% of seniors think building muscle back requires expensive protein powders, fancy gym memberships, or those meals that cost a fortune. That's just not true. What if I told you there are 5 dirt-cheap foods sitting in almost every grocery store right now that can help you rebuild your strength, regain your independence, and do it all without breaking the bank? These aren't exotic superfoods or trendy supplements. These are everyday items you've probably walked past 100 times without realizing they're exactly what your muscles are crying out for. The difference between staying strong and independent versus becoming frail and dependent often comes down to knowing which foods actually work and how to use them properly. And the first one on this list, it costs less than $1 per serving and contains everything your aging muscles need to start rebuilding today. Stick with me because what I'm about to share could literally change how you feel when you wake up tomorrow morning. Let me explain what's really happening inside your body right now. After 60, your muscles don't just get weaker, they actually start disappearing. And this process has a name: sarcopenia. It's not just about looking less toned, it's about your body literally consuming its own muscle tissue because it thinks it doesn't need it anymore. Think about what this means for your daily life. Those stairs you used to climb without thinking twice suddenly feel like climbing a mountain. Opening a jar becomes a two-hand job, and getting out of bed in the morning takes effort and planning. Here's the part that really matters. Your muscles need protein to survive and rebuild. But after 60, your body becomes resistant to protein. It's like your muscles have learned to ignore the protein you're eating unless you give them enough of the right kind at the right times. Most people think they're eating enough protein because they have chicken once a day or a glass of milk, but that's nowhere near what your aging muscles actually need to stop shrinking and start rebuilding. And here's the good news that the supplement industry doesn't want you to know. You don't need their expensive powders and shakes. The solution is simpler and cheaper than you think. We're going to start with the most affordable option first, something that costs pennies per serving and delivers more usable protein than almost anything else you can buy. All right, let's talk about eggs. And I know what you're thinking. Eggs? That's it? But hear me out, because what makes eggs absolutely perfect for rebuilding muscle after 60 isn't just the protein, it's how your body uses it. One large egg gives you about 6 grams of complete protein, meaning it has all 9 essential amino acids your muscles need to repair and grow. But here's the kicker. Eggs have the highest biological value of any whole food, which means your body can actually use about 94% of the protein in an egg, compared to only 70 to 80% from most other sources. Let's talk money for a second, because this matters when you're on a fixed income. A dozen eggs costs around $3 to $4 in most places, which breaks down to roughly 25 to 35 cents per egg. That's 2 eggs for breakfast, giving you 12 grams of high-quality protein for less than $1. And your body absorbs egg protein incredibly fast, getting those amino acids into your muscles within a couple of hours. Now, I know some of you are worried about cholesterol, but recent research shows that for most seniors, eating eggs daily doesn't increase heart disease risk like we once thought. The best part? You can scramble them, boil them, poach them, or even add them to other dishes. But hold on, because the next food I'm about to reveal is even cheaper per serving and works overnight while you sleep to repair your muscles. If you're finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button for Health After 60, because we're just getting started. Here's food number 2, cottage cheese, and this one's special because of what happens while you're sleeping.
Cottage cheese is packed with something called casein protein, which is completely different from the protein in eggs. While egg protein works fast, casein is a slow-release protein that can take up to 7 hours to fully digest. Why does this matter? Because when you eat cottage cheese before bed, your muscles are getting fed with amino acids all night long, which is exactly when your body does most of its repair and rebuilding work. A half-cup serving gives you about 14 grams of protein, and you can find store-brand cottage cheese for about $3 to $4 per container, which usually has about 4 servings. That's roughly $1 per serving for 14 grams of slow-digesting muscle fuel. Now, some of you tell me you don't like the texture or you think it's bland, but here's the thing. You can mix it with a little fruit, add a sprinkle of pepper and tomatoes, or even blend it into smoothies where you won't notice the texture at all. The key is that casein protein keeps your muscle protein synthesis turned on during those long hours between dinner and breakfast, when most people are essentially starving their muscles. And if you have trouble digesting dairy, the good news is that cottage cheese is lower in lactose than milk or regular cheese. Now, the third food might surprise you because it's something that can sit in your pantry for years and still be just as powerful for building muscle. Food number 3 is canned tuna or canned salmon, and this is where convenience meets powerful nutrition. A single can of tuna gives you around 20 to 25 grams of pure, lean protein with almost zero fat. And here's the beauty of it. These cans can sit in your cupboard for 2 to 3 years without going bad. When you break down the cost, you're looking at about $1 to $2 per can, depending on the brand, which means you're getting 20+ grams of protein for roughly the same price as 2 eggs, but even more protein per serving. But there's a bonus here that makes canned fish especially valuable for seniors: omega-3 fatty acids, particularly in salmon. These healthy fats don't just help your heart, they actually reduce inflammation in your muscles, which means faster recovery and less of that stiffness you feel the day after any physical activity. Now, I know some of you are concerned about consuming mercury, and that's a valid concern. The trick is to choose light tuna over albacore and to vary your choices between tuna and salmon throughout the week rather than eating the same thing every single day. You can mix it with a little mayo and put it on whole grain bread, toss it into a salad, or even eat it straight from the can if you're in a hurry.
The next food is one that most people don't realize is actually a muscle-building powerhouse, and it's probably in your fridge right now. Food number 4 is Greek yogurt. And this is where things get really interesting because you're getting a 2-for-1 deal that most people don't understand. Regular yogurt has about 5 to 7 grams of protein per serving, but Greek yogurt has been strained to remove the liquid whey, which concentrates the protein to around 15 to 20 grams per cup. That's nearly triple the protein in the same amount of food. But here's what makes Greek yogurt especially powerful for seniors. It's loaded with probiotics, those beneficial bacteria that keep your gut healthy. Now, you might be wondering what your gut has to do with building muscle, and the answer is everything. If your digestive system isn't working properly, you're not absorbing the nutrients from your food, which means all that protein you're eating isn't actually making it to your muscles. A healthy gut means better absorption, and better absorption means more muscle growth from the same amount of food. You can find store-brand Greek yogurt for around $4 to $5 for a large container, which gives you several servings. The trap to avoid here is flavored Greek yogurt loaded with sugar, because that sugar can actually work against your muscle-building goals and spike your blood sugar. Stick with plain Greek yogurt and add your own fresh fruit if you want sweetness. Now, the final food on this list is something you probably already have sitting in your pantry, and it's hands down the cheapest protein source you can find. If you're enjoying these money-saving tips, make sure you subscribe to Health After 60 so you never miss our practical health advice. Food number 5 is dried lentils and beans, and when I talk about cheap protein, this is the absolute champion. A 1-pound bag of dried lentils costs around $2 and gives you about 13 servings, with each serving delivering around 18 grams of protein. Do the math on that.
you're getting 18 grams of protein for roughly 15 cents per serving. That's less than the cost of a single egg, and you're getting 3 times the protein. Now, some of you might be thinking that plant protein isn't as good as animal protein, and there's some truth to that because lentils and beans don't have all 9 essential amino acids in the perfect ratios. But here's the solution. When you combine them with whole grains like brown rice or whole wheat bread, you create a complete protein that your muscles can use just as effectively as any animal source. Plus, you're getting an incredible amount of fiber along with that protein, which helps control your blood sugar, keeps you feeling full, and supports that gut health we talked about earlier. Cooking dried beans does take some time because you need to soak them overnight, but lentils are much faster and can be ready in about 20 to 30 minutes. You can make a big batch and keep it in the fridge for the week, adding them to soups, salads, or eating them as a side dish. But here's the thing that most people get wrong, and it's absolutely critical for making all of these foods actually work. Here's what most seniors get completely wrong. They think as long as they eat enough protein throughout the day, their muscles will rebuild. But your body doesn't work that way, especially after 60. Research shows that your muscles need at least 25 to 30 grams of protein in a single meal to trigger muscle protein synthesis, which is the process that actually builds and repairs muscle tissue. If you're eating 10 grams at breakfast, 10 at lunch, and 10 at dinner, you're technically getting 30 grams total, but you're not giving your muscles enough at any one time to flip that growth switch. This is why spreading your protein across 3 solid meals matters so much. Aim for around 25 to 30 grams at breakfast, another 25 to 30 at lunch, and the same at dinner. That might look like 2 eggs plus Greek yogurt at breakfast, a tuna salad at lunch, and a serving of lentils with chicken at dinner. And here's another piece most people miss. You need to drink enough water because your muscles are about 75% water, and if you're dehydrated, protein synthesis slows down dramatically. Aim for at least 6 to 8 glasses of water daily. The combination approach works even better too. Pairing plant proteins like lentils with animal proteins like eggs gives you a more complete amino acid profile, and mixing fast-digesting proteins like eggs with slow-digesting ones like cottage cheese keeps your muscles fed for longer periods. But even if you do all of this perfectly, there's one critical mistake that will completely sabotage your results. Hit that subscribe button for Health After 60, because what I'm about to tell you next could be the difference between success and failure. The biggest mistake I see seniors make is thinking that just eating protein is enough, and then wondering why they're not getting stronger. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You cannot build muscle without giving your muscles a reason to grow. Protein is the building material, but resistance exercise is the signal that tells your body to actually use that material. You don't need a fancy gym membership. Even simple bodyweight exercises, resistance bands, or lifting light weights at home 2 to 3 times a week will trigger your muscles to respond to all that protein you're eating. Without this signal, your body will just use that protein for energy or other functions instead of building muscle. The second mistake is skipping breakfast or having just coffee and toast in the morning. After sleeping for 8 hours, your muscles are desperately hungry for protein, and if you don't feed them within an hour or 2 of waking up, you're missing your best opportunity of the day to start that muscle-building process. Third mistake, expecting to see results overnight. Muscle building after 60 takes time, usually around 4 to 8 weeks before you'll notice real changes in your strength and how you feel. And finally, not drinking enough water throughout the day means all that protein you're eating can't be processed efficiently, and you might even experience constipation from the increased protein and fiber. Now let me give you a simple plan you can start using today to put all of this together. Let's bring this all together so you can take action starting tomorrow morning. You now know the 5 cheapest, most effective protein sources for rebuilding muscle after 60. Eggs for fast-absorbing complete protein at breakfast, cottage cheese before bed for overnight muscle repair, canned tuna or salmon for lean protein with omega-3s, Greek yogurt for gut health and protein absorption, and lentils or beans for the most budget-friendly option that also gives you fiber. Remember, you need 25 to 30 grams of protein at each of your 3 main meals, not just scattered throughout the day. Start your morning within an hour or 2 of waking with a high-protein breakfast, stay hydrated with 6 to 8 glasses of water, and combine these foods with some form of resistance exercise at least 2 to 3 times a week. Here's what I want you to understand. Losing muscle and strength after 60 isn't inevitable, and you don't need expensive supplements or complicated meal plans to turn things around. These 5 foods are sitting in your local grocery store right now, waiting for you to take control of your health and your independence. In 4 to 8 weeks, you could be climbing those stairs easier, playing with your grandkids without worrying about your strength, and feeling more confident in your body than you have in years. The choice is yours, but the tools are right here. Make sure you subscribe to Health After 60 because we're building a community of people just like you who refuse to let age define their strength and vitality. And I'll see you in the next one where we talk about the exercises that pair perfectly with these foods.